Hey everybody, how are you? It's good to see you. This is LLK number 21, Knit with Laura and Lola. I am Laura Nelkin. I'm a knitwear designer. I live in upstate New York in the Finger Lakes region, and I'm sometimes joined by my alter ego, Lola. She's pretty fun. She has a spicy mouth sometimes, and she and I try to keep things real together. So I am coming to you today from my deck. I keep moving around locations for this log because I can't decide where I like to shoot them, and also because I know once we get to winter, my choices are going to be very limited. So I might as well play around and choose different spots. Um, Behind me on my deck, you will see a what I call a deck quilt. It is a barn quilt that I'll tell you guys about it a little later, but I just finished it last weekend. It still has a little bit of tweaking to do, but I was excited to put it in the back of this log. It's kind of a good background on a boring deck wall. I'm putting my drink down. I disappeared for a second. I have a lot to tell you about today. I released a pattern that I've been talking to you guys about since March, and I'm going to share a bunch more about that pattern. I grew mushrooms, and I'm going to tell you about my mushrooms. I have been sewing masks and came up with a new mask pattern I really enjoy, and I want to share that with you. And just kind of talk about some other stuff as well. So I want to jump right in. I try not to keep these logs too long because I think there's this point at which we have fatigue being on a screen for too long, right? I know I'm experiencing that, and I'm sure you are as well. I really thought by this time we would be a little farther along in handling the coronavirus pandemic. I think I'm almost in shock that it's still that we're having surges and it's being such an issue. And I just urge everybody to stay home as much as you can. And when you can't be home, wear a mask, stay away from people, don't hug people. So hard. I saw a friend yesterday that was, I think, like the last person I had a normal hangout time with before coronavirus started. And she and I had not seen each other at all. She came over and sat very far away from me on my deck. And it was super hard not to hug her at the end. I've known her since I think I was 19. We've known each other. We were babies together, and now we're grown-ups together. I can hear squirrels fighting. And so that was hard. And I know that we're all having moments like that. This week, I was supposed to be leaving on my ultimate knitting cruise. I think I should have been in Copenhagen by now. I should have landed and I should be getting over jet lag right now in Copenhagen. And that was obviously canceled. I'm going to do a little Zoom with my cruising buddies on Friday night because that was supposed to be like the first night of us taking off and doing our first tour together. So we're going to have a little Zoom, not in celebration, but just in honor of where we were supposed to be. And instead, we're staying home and being safe. So, things to tell you about. One thing I want to touch on, I'm trying to decide if I want to touch on that. I don't think I do. I'm going to just let it go. I'm going to be me and not, I don't know if you all have noticed, but conversations like pop up in the knitting community and then one conversation, another conversation, another conversation, and some of them are really relevant and I feel really strongly about them. And some of them, I know how I handle things feels right to me, and I don't think I need to jump into every conversation that is happening. And it isn't because I don't care. It is, because I want to stay true to what feels right for me and get my work done. I have a lot of commitments, and I feel I have a strong work ethic, and I feel strongly about getting the things done that I've said I'll get done. So one thing that I said I would get done, that I have gotten done slowly but surely, is the Tasca Tunic project. So this collection of the Tasca collection is going to end up having 6 patterns in it. Today, 2 of them released, the baby version and The toddler kid version, which has pockets. The baby version, which I'll show you in a second, does not have pockets. And for those of you who've been watching this log over the last few months, you know that in March I found a crochet top that had a square neckline. Maybe I'll show that to you when the adult versions release. And I was inspired by it and decided to see if I could do a side-to-side construction like I do often with my little side panels that used that styling to make a tunic. And the baby and toddler kid versions all are kind of like typical sweater length, like typical sweater. Oh, I have an end that's not woven in yet. That's funny. Typical sweater length. The adult versions that are going to come out in August have a cropped version and then a longer version that goes down past your bum a little bit. So there's choices on that, which is really fun. The adult versions are all in testing. I have about 20 people testing them, so you guys could really see a variety of options for them. But the baby ones, which are simple and a great way to start with this construction, are out now. So the way they are worked is you cast on for the right side and you work across the right shoulder, and then you put stitches, put stitches on a holder for the neckline, and then you work the front and the back separately across without any neckline shaping, which is really easy. And then you provisionally cast on stitches for the left neckline and go across the left shoulder. And then you knit a pocket lining and work a side panel coming up that integrates that pocket lining into the side panel. And as the side panel is worked, it's binding off a stitch from the right side and binding off a stitch from the left side of the sweater, going across like that. This is probably like the 14th design I've done with this side-to-side side panel construction. I do have blog posts about it, and I'll put one up below. I'll put a link for you. So if this sounds brand new to you, I'll show you some diagrams in that blog post that will explain more how this construction works. It's fun. I keep thinking I'm going to be done, and then I come up with one more thing I want to try with it, and I just go on from there. Do you know what? The sun got really bright, and I'm going to wear my sunglasses for a tiny bit, and we'll see if that is distracting for you guys or not. They're pretty light sunglasses, but I'm squinting. I think that that's going to help me see a little better while I show this to you. So this is the toddler version. There's also a baby version. I'm about to freak you guys out. This is trigger warning if you're scared of baby dolls. When I was designing the baby version, I couldn't find a baby to try the baby version on because there's a pandemic and it's kind of not, it's awkward to ask somebody to touch their baby to try a sweater on them. So I really wanted to make sure that the baby sweater was going to fit over a head. And my friend Jackie was like, I have one of those real Madame Alexander, like life-size baby dolls if you want to borrow her. I'm sorry, Jackie, I forget your doll's name. We call her Freaky Baby at our house. She's been hanging out on our couch for the last few months and wearing the sweater, and our cat cuddles with her sometimes, which is super amusing and like a little weird. And then the thing I didn't tell you about, which is like the irony of designing a baby pattern right now, is I know you know that I had surgery a few months ago. In May, I had some surgery, and the procedure that I had done was a hysterectomy, a laparoscopic hysterectomy, because I've been having problems with fibroids for years and tried like every solution, you know, acupuncture, Chinese herbs, birth control. I kind of ran through the gamut of ways to not have a hysterectomy, and I finally decided that I didn't need to suffer anymore, and I could just deal with the problem and get on with life. And I can already tell you that it was the best decision I ever made to do that. I am really glad I took the plunge. Even my doctor, she was like, really, you want to do that? And I was like, yes, I think we're there. I think it's time. So the irony of designing a baby pattern while you're having a hysterectomy is highly amusing to me. And Lola definitely had a huge part in that. I knew it was going on at the time, but I wasn't. There were days where I was like walking around the house with a baby doll just to freak my family out. Not because I was doing anything super weird, but I was being a little weird. It was, I look for humor, especially when times are a little challenging. Um, so yeah, designed a baby sweater, had a hysterectomy. Super glad I did it. Super glad I designed a baby sweater. I have a friend from my knitting group who's having a baby pretty soon, and I am knitting that baby one of these because it's the pandemic baby sweater. Um, Now we're gonna give Jackie back her creepy baby doll because we don't need her anymore. Now that I know that the head fit the neck hole for the sweater, we are all good. There is a thread set up in Ravelry for Tasca. The patterns are available individually for $8. As the adult patterns release, those will be $8 as well. Or you can go ahead and purchase the collection, and the collection will have 6 patterns in it total. And right now, the collection is $18. After July 29th, it'll go up to $24. So 6 patterns total in the collection. Pretty excited about this project. Um, it was a long time coming, and once we are done with the kit along in the Ravelry group on August 15th, we will start a knit along for Tasca. So the adult sweaters will be out before then. People can choose yarn. I have written these patterns to be really flexible about yarn. Sometimes when I design with yarn, with a pattern, it's really yarn specific. I'm like inspired by a yarn, or I'm working on a collaboration with a yarn company, and that is the yarn that should be used for that pattern. But in this case, it's pretty much any sport or DK weight yarn that you're inspired by. So I'm going to do sunglasses for a tiny bit again. So as long as you can get gauge for the pattern, you are good to go with any yarn choice. All of my testers, because I didn't really say this is the yarn you should use, I said these are yarns I used. I knit 2 adult versions, and a third one I had a sample knitter knit for me. So I've got 3 adult versions to show you. And I used 3 different yarns for those. The yarn that I used on the baby sweaters is Spun Right Round Squish DK. This color is called the Unmentionables. This color is called Spaced Out. Um, any superwash DK weight yarn, a superwash sport weight yarn, if you use that, there's just going to be more air in between the stitches, so it's going to be a little lighter. So if you live or the baby you're knitting for lives in a warmer climate, maybe go for a sport weight. If you live in a northern climate like I do, maybe go for the DK weight. The adults can be done in worsted weight. It's totally up to you. And I wrote it like this on purpose because, especially for the baby sweaters, this was one skein. This is the 2T size. This was only one skein, so 240 yards of superwash DK. And I think a lot of us have superwash DK yarns in stash ready to become something. I know I bought a lot when I was on my bralette kick, and then I started using them for these as well. So you probably have something on hand that will work for the baby or toddler sweater to get you, or kid sweater to get you going with the construction before you knit an adult one for yourself. And again, there's a thread. There are videos on how to do every step. I did a special video last week for how to integrate that pocket in. I think that that is really important. There, the sun is going. I can take off my sunglasses again. On and off. You guys are really working with me today. I am wearing the Bless Your Heart shawl because the last time I filmed one of these and the shawl had released, it was like 100 degrees out, and there's no world I was wearing it. It's 80 out today, and I am getting warm, so I might strip at some point, but I'm trying to keep it on as long as possible just so you could see it on a body and not just in a photo. It is knit with Fiber Space Cumulus, and I did get more kits, so those are back in the shop. You guys ate them up very quickly last round. So there's the sun again. I was looking at the weather, trying to get the cloudy part of the day for doing this. So those are back in the shop. I'm looking over at my notes to make sure I'm covering stuff. The Bless Your Heart shawl kits are back in. The kit along is going strong. There's almost 100 finished projects already in the kit along. And people are knocking some of their kits off and winning prizes every week. There's $50 gift certificates to a different BIPOC designer, sorry, yarn company, not designer, but yarn company every week. I am purchasing those gift certificates for you. They are not donated. And the fourth gift certificate will be gifted next Monday. So cast on a kit, post a photo. You just have to tag it, and making new friends in there. I've seen people in there I've not seen in my knit-alongs before, which is really fun. The community we build in my Ravelry group is really one of my favorite places to be. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Really appreciate that space. I'm also blown away by all of your Farmstand Sack love. Last log, I showed you the Farmstand Sack, which was the July Lola's Choice kit. And those kits are completely sold out, but it is really easy to find a cotton DK weight yarn for knitting Farmstand sacks. And Melissa Jean has buttons. I was totally nervous that people were going to think Lola lamed out with that design, but your sacks are coming out gorgeous. I've seen some 2-color ones out there. It is a fun, fast knit. It is functional, which makes sense right now because where are we going to wear shawls anyway right now, right? Can't believe I said that out loud. I am knitting on not a lot right now. I finished the End Club design. That is off with the tester. It's back from the tech editor, Kate. I almost finished with Lola's Choice, but the pattern is off at my tech editor, and she called me a sick F word when she received the pattern and the photos. So now I'm a little worried about the next Lola's Choice design, that it's a little crazy, and I might come up with a simpler alternate version, because Lola does not want people to cry when they knit her designs. For those of you who don't know, Lola's Choice is one of my small bi-monthly kit clubs. Sorry, I forgot to say that. There'll be a link below to everything if you have questions. So that next September kit, gonna be a good time. Definitely be videos to help you guys out. We'll definitely have a knit along thread, and the goal right now is to be learning new things and doing those clubs. I'm really using those patterns as an opportunity to teach you. And sometimes they're easier, sometimes they're harder, but it's an opportunity for us all to learn together. And that is one of my goals anyway. Definitely, we want to keep things fresh and fun for us all right now. That was part of doing this deck quilt actually back here. I could talk about that a little bit. I want to make sure I'm told you all about my knitting before I move on to other stuff. I think that's it in the knitting land. I got some new colors in for fetish kits, so I'm going to whip those up. I have a photo shoot next week. And otherwise, I'm starting to think about what I'm going to design next. What's really interesting about what I do is it's not that it's not fun to release patterns, but it is not as fun for me to release a pattern as it is to design a pattern. So I'm in the part of the Tasca collection that is my least favorite part, is basically like the marketing part. I know about it. I've been working on it for months. Now I need to share it with you guys, get you excited, have you want to knit it with me. I absolutely love it. I'm excited for it to cool down so I can wear those, and maybe that's part of my problem with it right now is I'm not enjoying wearing the sweaters that I knit. And I think once we get that knit along going and I decide to knit another one, I'll feel more excited. But the design part is really what is really fun for me. Gets all my juices flowing. So I'm thinking about what to design next, and I am waiting for yarn for a mystery knit along, and that's taking a little longer to come from the secret place that it's coming from. And I'm trying to have my needles pretty empty so that when it gets here, I can just dive right in on that, because the time is running a little short to have that be a fall mystery knit along. And I really, 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 really want it to be. So that's my goal, and I'm trying to have everything cleared off and ready for it. I've done some swatching and I have some concepts, but I really love to design mystery knit-alongs on my needles. I kind of like to see how the yarn develops and moves, and it's part of why they're so crazy when we do them together, because I'm designing kind of section by section and play by play. Really fun. So that's coming. And that's my knitting world right now. It's been fun seeing what you guys are all knitting, and keep sharing that with me, please. If you're not on Ravelry, you can share in my Facebook group, or share on Ravelry, or tag me on Instagram, or wherever. Send me an email with photos if that's how you communicate. All good. Let's just keep the communication channels open. Next up, I want to tell you about my deck quilt. So I don't know if you've heard of barn quilts before. I'm going to put a link to a website that I found because my father-in-law was like, what's actually everybody I've talked to is like, what's a barn quilt? And barn quilts are big squares that are painted that are hung up on barns, and there's places around the country that have barn quilt tours where you can go and see different barn quilts hanging on different barns, kind of like drive around the countryside. And I'm part of a group of creative women in the Ithaca area, and one of them suggested an outdoor barn quilt painting workshop, and I pretty much was like, sign me up. I want to do something I've never done before, just like dying to do new things. And so I went there last Saturday, and we all stayed far apart from each other out in the yard. It was hot, like 90 degrees, so we all tried to find like shady spots. And the night before, I designed a square, and I want to go, actually, I totally have something to show you, so I'm going to go grab that. I'll edit this part out, don't worry. Oh, my dress is really short, so I'm going to stay small, so you can't see. I'm basically wearing like a tunic without leggings because I was so hot. So this is kind of what my design looked like when I was figuring out what I wanted to do for the barn quilt. And then I wanted to hang it on my deck because our deck has these like big open ugly white walls, and they really needed something. And I love it. It's a little big. I could see how maybe next year I'm going to end up painting one that's like 3x3 instead of 4x4 for the deck, because it needs a little more empty space around it to work better. They're designed for being like up on a house or up on a barn. And the pattern that I chose was goose tracks because we have a lot of geese that fly over our house. That was my reasoning after the fact. At the time, I was like, I just like that. I'm doing goose tracks. And then I was like, oh, I'm supposed to have a reason for why I chose goose tracks. Geese. Geese are the reason. Really fun. You use exterior paint for them so they can be outside. And that was just a good weekend project. Something different and fresh and new. Taking my sunglasses off. Next up, let's see, I'm kind of looking over at my notes and telling you. I got mushroom logs in the spring, shiitake mushroom logs from a local mushroom farmer. And they were not happening, and I was not getting mushrooms. I think I got like 2 mushrooms in the spring. I followed the directions, but it has been a really dry spring and summer, and I think they weren't getting damp enough or staying damp enough. They were drying out. And when I was working on the deck quilt on Sunday, I looked over at my logs, and there were like tons of shiitake mushrooms growing off of them. So we had really good sourdough pizza Sunday night I lied. We had okay sourdough pizza. I think I like my regular pizza dough recipe better than all the sourdough recipe pizzas I've tried. If anybody has a good sourdough pizza recipe that they like, leave that in the comments below. I'd be happy to hear about it. I think I just like my regular yeasted pizza dough recipe, and I'm going to continue to use that from now on. And, you know, not everything has to be sourdough. I mean, a lot should be sourdough, but not everything. The other thing I've been doing is sewing masks again. So in March and April, I had a big run sewing masks, and the mask I landed on that I ended up really liking was, oh, I didn't end up showing you another thing. We'll see if I get there. Oh, dropping stuff. The mask I ended on that I really liked was this Japanese mask, and I know that I shared the pattern with you guys for that. It had this inverted pleat, which I really liked, that went around my nose, and then it just went around my ears like that. But that inverted pleat sits really nicely there, especially if you put a little bit of wire in. but and you can see this happening when I talk or breathe in. It's like flat across my mouth right here because of the way that it's constructed. And one of the reasons I liked it is it was really fun to make. It was like magical origami style. It was just a really like engineering wise, it kind of was magic, and then it came together beautifully. Um, but I don't really like the way it fits, especially as it got hot. I felt like I was suffocating a little bit in it. And my friend Debbie, my dear friend Debbie, who I've been friends with forever, started making a hybrid version of that pattern. It does have an inverted pleat at the top. She got these really nice nose wires for it. But she solved the problem by putting a piece of boning into the front right here. I'm not sure if Debbie sells these or not. If she does, I'll give you guys a link below. But I think she's just been like, people have been reaching out to her, friends and family, and she's been making them for them. So this has this like boning in it, and that keeps it sitting out a little bit like that, which is brilliant, and I love it. They are definitely more finicky to sew. Debbie is like a very precise, excellent sewer, and I know that for me, particularly for masks, I just need to be able to bang them out when I'm sewing them. I need to have it be something where I can do like 20 at a time and have it take an afternoon. So then I was on Facebook one day. No way. I can learn about everything on Facebook. And my friend posted about these masks, and I wrote down her name right in here. Her name is Iris. Oh, I swear I did. I'm going to put the link below. Her name is Iris, and she is a German designer. I'll put it up in the thirds on the screen so you guys can see her name. She's a German illustrator, and she came up with this mask pattern. But what I love about her pattern is she explains all the other mask shapes and why she landed on this one. And it's basically a hybrid of that Japanese one that I love, but also a pleated version. It doesn't fog my glasses when I wear this one. So it's got an inverted pleat on the inside and then external pleats on the outside. And I've got some wire in there, and then I've got the ear things, and I find that it lays really beautifully when I tighten it down at the sides right there, and it stays away from my mouth because there's all this extra fabric, and it's covering from the bridge of my nose to underneath my chin, which is, I guess, the way a mask is supposed to fit. I cannot believe that we've learned so much about masks in this short period of time. It kind of blows me away. And what I did for the strapping, some of you guys might have noticed this when I hike to Gannick in the morning. I am actually taking off the shawl because it is getting warmer and warmer out by the second. I'm getting hot. It's summer, you guys. Well, I know I'll wear knitting again. I'm not worried about it. My friend Jackie, the market mask maker, makes these really awesome, simple pleated masks that I also really like, and I forgot to get one to show you guys today. She does this amazing technique where she has integrated ear straps. So the ear straps are integrated into the neck cord, so you can put it on and then tighten it down, and it tightens down perfectly. But then if you're hiking and you don't need a mask on because no one's around, you can just take it down and wear it around your neck. Or you're like in the car in between errands. And then you can really easily, especially once her nose piece is like in shape, just put it back on and tighten it down without touching your mask at all, which is awesome. So these are the mask strapping and shape that I'm loving right now. I love Jackie's. My friend Christina did just get permission to sew these from the designer and sell them. So I'll give you guys a link to both of those guys below. Check them out if you're needing masks. The reason this all started, my whole time to sew more masks, is because I guess my kid is going back to college. And I want my kid to go back to college, and she wants to go back to college. And that is really nervous making because she's going to need to wear masks a lot. She's going to be clearly exposed and need to keep herself as safe as possible. And people are doing it. People are out in the world. They're working in hospitals. They're working in doctors' offices. They're working in grocery stores. They're not getting sick. And I know that. Like, I can intellectualize why it's going to be okay. And I know she can be careful. But I also feel like she's a college student, and college students do laundry. Some do it more than others. She's pretty good at it, but she needs enough masks to not have to do laundry 4 times a week. She needs enough masks that she has a pile of them at, when one feels damp, or at the end of the day, she can throw it in her laundry bin, grab another one, that she has enough masks that she likes, that she's willing to wear and are comfortable, that they'll last her a while, is really important to me. So that's kind of why I'm on this like mask thing. And I'm sewing her some of this style. I bought her some of another style to try off of Etsy that didn't get here yet. I'm buying some from Jackie. Debbie made her some. So she's just gonna like have a lot. And that's just kind of how I can show my love right now, right? And be supportive. And I hope they get to go back. I feel like it's an important part of development to not live with your parents all the time. As much as I'll miss our family debates, because they have been spicy and real and hard. And we were having a debate about economics the other day. Actually, I wasn't having it. My husband and my daughter were having it. And we were having it in the car, and then we stopped at Agway to pick up some hardware supplies to hang the quilt. And the debate continued like into the store, and it was pretty awesome. I loved it. I'm gonna miss that a lot. What else can I tell you about? Ask questions if you have any. Oh, I am reading The Bookwoman of Troublesome Creek. Loving it. I finished 12 Tribes of Happy. Really enjoyed that. And The Bookwoman of Troublesome Creek is superb. I'm deep into it, and I can tell I'm going to eat that right up and then look for the next book. Watching. I have been binging Queen Sugar, which I told you guys about last week. There's 4 seasons of it. Each episode, there's about 14 or 15 episodes in a season. They're about 45 minutes long, which is why it's taking a while. I think I'm on season 3. The topics that are covered in Queen Sugar are so relevant to conversations that are being had right now. And it was originally on the Oprah network, and now I'm watching it on Hulu. And I watched Oprah do something the other week, and she was basically like, we've been having these conversations for years, but you white people are finally just figuring out what we've been talking about. So the show is I've seen a lot of conversation about black farmers lately getting kicked off their land for one reason or another, because that land is being used for another purpose, or because they were renting that land. They didn't own the land, although maybe their families had been on it for, 20, 30, 50 years. That is the season of Queen Sugar, is discussing that in detail, like taking that happening to black farmers and dramatizing it. And it's really well done. And it's helping me understand some issues and topics that I didn't totally understand before. So I would suggest watching that if you want some entertainment, but also like valuable entertainment. Valuable educational entertainment is what that is. The other thing I watched last night, which I really enjoyed, and I'm almost through it, and I'll give you a link below, is Patty Lyons has a weekly live, and she invites instructors on, or knitting teachers, or friends of hers. And she had Kate Atherley on yesterday, and they were talking about pattern writing and yarn usage in depth, and I think it's 2 hours, and there's a lot of great content in there. So if you're wondering why designers sometimes do things one way or another, I think you might find it really interesting to watch that. You might need to do it in 2 sessions because it's long, but it's worth it. There's a lot of valuable content in there, and I learned a few things. Was there anything else I wanted to tell you about? I know what I wanted to tell you about. It has been a while since I did a Zoom giveaway with you guys. So in the beginning of doing these logs, at the beginning of stay-at-home orders, I was doing weekly Zooms. So like in the Zoom, I would ask you guys a question at the end and you would leave a comment here on Ravelry or in both places. It didn't really matter. And then I would choose 5 people from here and 5 people from the Ravelry comments to join me on a Zoom event. And I want to do that again. And I haven't set the date for that, so I'll just put that below right here and the video when it's going to be so that you know. And just tell me how it's going. Just give us a little update. Tell me what you're knitting. Tell me how you're feeling. I'm not going to ask you anything too specific, but I miss doing those, and I think it's time to have one again. And I don't know if you have noticed, but while I am filming this, it is getting darker and darker. It is not bright anymore. I do not need my sunglasses on, and there is thunder. So that's how quickly things change in the summer. So I guess I should say goodbye to you. Leave a comment here or in the Ravelry thread. Let me know how you're doing. I'll pick people for a Zoom, and I look forward to doing that with you guys. I miss you, and if we're home for a while, we should hang out a little bit together, okay? Happy knitting.